When you hear the word Afghanistan, what's the first thing that pops into your head? For most of us, it's going to be headlines about conflict, right? A nation that seems defined by all this recent turmoil. But that's just the surface. That's not the real story. Because beneath all those headlines lies a history that's thousands of years in the making.
So, what if the story we think we know is just, I don't know, a single torn page from some epic novel? We're about to go on a journey to a place that was literally the crossroads for every great empire of the ancient world. I'm talking Persians, Greeks, Arabs, Mongols, and every single one of them left something behind, a layer of treasure, of secrets, and of ghosts.
For the last half century, pretty much constant war has locked this entire history away. The last major international expedition, it got cut short way back in 1979. And since then, science here has just been frozen in time, while the rest of the world has been mapped and scanned right down to the bedrock. So yeah, this place is basically a closed book, but from the few pages we've been lucky enough to glimpse, we know it holds wonders that could literally rewrite human history. So today, we're going to take a peek inside. Okay, so our story actually begins not with ruins, but with the land itself, a landscape of geological marvels and ancient industries that have some incredible tales to tell.
High up in the mountains, you'll find the 6 lakes of Bande Amir, and each one is a different, just impossible color, from this deep cobalt blue to a shimmering emerald green, all thanks to its unique mineral chemistry. They're separated by these natural dams of travertine rock, built up over thousands of years. But the real mystery? It's what lies beneath. Nobody has ever mapped their underground water sources, and local fishermen swear that their nets have never, not once, touched the bottom of the largest lake.
Just let that number sink in for a second. 7 millennia. That's how long the lapis lazuli mines in the mountains of Badakhshan have been continuously operating. That makes them one of the oldest active industrial sites on the entire planet. And this wasn't just some local quarry. This one source shows you just how globally important this place was. Lapis from these exact mines was discovered in the tombs of Egyptian pharaohs. Then, thousands of years later, it was ground into ultramarine pigment, a color that was actually more valuable than gold, and used by Renaissance masters to paint the robes of the Virgin Mary. All of that brilliant blue, it came from this one remote spot in the Afghan mountains. So, from the treasures of the earth, we turn to the ghosts of the civilizations that came looking for them. Layer upon layer upon layer of empire, all buried by time. So, check this out. In Bagram, archaeologists found a city that was founded by Alexander the Great. But when they dug deeper, they hit the ruins of an even older city right underneath it. And beneath that, they found the foundations of a civilization from the 3rd millennium BCE. I mean, think about that. When Alexander the Great showed up, he was standing on the rubble of a city that was already 2,000 years old, as ancient to him as the Roman Empire is to us. Wow. Now, we all know the tragic story of the Bamiyan Buddhas, destroyed back in 2001. But those statues, they were just the facade. The real secret is what's behind them, an entire mountain honeycombed with caves that was once home to thousands of monks. And inside, researchers found the world's first oil paintings, predating European use of that technique by 500 years. Plus, legends still persist of a lost library where priceless manuscripts were supposedly hidden from invaders centuries ago. To this day, it's never been found. And then you have Balkh, the mother of cities. It's been continuously lived in for at least 3,500 years, but its real significance might be spiritual. Ancient tradition calls this the birthplace of the prophet Zarathustra, and his concepts, a cosmic battle between good and evil, a final judgment, the resurrection, they were profoundly influential, spreading for centuries from this very spot. It's actually possible that core ideas shared by more than half the people on Earth today have their roots right here in this one city. You see, the land here doesn't just hold lost cities. It holds lost knowledge, ideas and technologies that, by all accounts, just shouldn't have existed when they did. 800 years. That's the gap between an incredibly intricate pattern laid in brick on a remote tower and the moment modern science finally caught up and understood the math behind it. So, the minaret of Jam, built way back in the 12th century, is covered in this geometric pattern that is just stunningly complex. So complex, it never repeats itself precisely. This is what we now call a quasi-crystalline pattern. Western scientists only discovered the mathematics behind these things in the 1970s, and the work even won a Nobel Prize in 2011. So how on earth did artisans create it 800 years earlier? Was it some lost branch of mathematics, an intuitive art passed down through generations? The minaret? It isn't telling. For generations, miners in the Panjshir Valley have passed down this strange belief. They say that in the mines that have been completely emptied of silver, if you just wait a few years, the silver grows back. Now, it sounds like a myth, right? But it's actually true. Panjshir silver was so abundant, it supplied half the medieval world. And geologists have now confirmed it. Hot, mineral-rich water from deep within the earth is constantly flowing through those old veins, depositing new layers of metal. The legend is a real, documented geological process. The only question science hasn't answered is, how fast? Impossible lakes, lost cities, knowledge way ahead of its time. These glimpses are just astonishing. But what if I told you they represent just the smallest, tiniest fraction of what's really there? I mean, just consider what these few sites alone suggest. Bamyan hints at a total rewrite of art history. Bagram points to a major Bronze Age civilization we know almost nothing about. The minaret of Jam implies a lost understanding of mathematics. And Balkh, well, Balkh could hold the common ancestor of 3 world religions. Each one of these is a world-changing discovery in its own right. Remember those French archaeological missions I mentioned earlier? For 50 years, they were our main window into this world, and every single discovery they made sent shockwaves through the field of history. They were revealing wonders that nobody had even dreamed of. But here's the kicker. Even with all their groundbreaking work, over 5 entire decades, they barely scratched the surface. Of all the places we already know exist, the mounds, the outlines of cities you can see from space, they were only able to systematically investigate less than 5%. 95%. That is the true mystery of Afghanistan. All the wonders we've just talked about, all the history rewriting discoveries, they all come from just 5% of what we already know is there. This isn't a country with no history. It might be the country with the most history on Earth. It's just that almost all of it is still in the ground, completely unread and totally undiscovered. For every one Bagram, there are dozens more just like it, waiting. So that brings us to the final question. If this vast, unopened book of history is ever fully explored, what single discovery do you think would be the most shocking? What truly lies waiting for us beneath the headlines?